Let's go now, though, to that issue out of Beijing. China's ambassador to Australia has made clear that China will retaliate if the government tries to buy back the Port of Darwin, which is currently on a 99-year lease to China's Landbridge group.
We're aware of the position of the Australian government. They want to take it back, so-called, back to Australia's hands. The Chinese company is just simply operating on a lease basis. And starting from last year, Darwin Port has stopped losing money and started to make money. Suddenly, we're hearing that the government of Australia want to take it back. So I really question the ethic value.
Joining me now to discuss this, retired Brigadier, former Army Director General Ian Langford. Ian, thank you for your time. We're really seeing the rhetoric escalate here about the port, but we'll get to Taiwan, but about Taiwan as well in a moment. There's a menace there that we're seeing from the ambassador very early in this year. How do you read this?
Thanks, Peter, and good evening to your viewers. I think wolf warrior diplomacy is back. I mean, we all understand from 2020 and the attempts by the PRC then to intimidate Australia through tariffs and threats around our public discourse regarding Taiwan and China's role in the world and sort of what that meant in terms of us being persecuted internationally. That kind of went away when it was proven not to be effective. But I think with increased confidence that China now has in a changing world order, it now feels confident enough to reassert its interests plainly in public by making clear its displeasure around Australia's intent to follow through on the PM's election promise to reacquire the Port of Darwin. I mean, there is a fair lot of discourse around the commercial sensitivities, and as the Chinese ambassador supposedly outlined, the profit-making business that he's worried about is being sold off for other reasons. But ultimately, from an Australian interest perspective, this is about security. It's about locking up a key part of critical infrastructure in Northern Australia as it relates to military power projection and essential trade routes. So when I hear this discussion around the Port of Darwin, I think it's important in Australia's interests that we articulate its significance as a military and as an intelligence target, and we need to protect that. And that really is fundamentally the reasons for the PM, again, making that election commitment to reacquire, noting, of course, that the Chinese will be upset by that. But this is what statecraft looks like in 2025, and we must follow through in that order.
And just quickly, you know, for commercial reasons, the PM's not going to necessarily telegraph where they're up to, but are you getting a sense that it is actually happening?
I think it has to. I mean, the PM's got a choice. He can either upset the PRC or he can not deliver on an election promise. So in terms of public trust and national interest, there's that dimension to it. And at the end of the day, this will cost us to remediate the errors of leasing it to that company in the first instance. So the choice, I believe, is not how much and why. I think it's essential that we get on with that and secure our interests going forward.
All right. What do you make, not just of his comments, the ambassador's comments in relation to Taiwan, basically saying there'll be punishment or retribution for Australia. We need to remember what side of the argument we should be on at the start of the year. But there was also that speech from President Xi, very, very stern in relation to Taiwan. And of course, we've seen coming out over the last week talk of a military realignment, the removal of generals, you know, a whole lot of sort of backroom gossip as to the reasons why, talk of leaking of secrets on nuclear to the United States. Give us again your read here.
Well, I think, again, in terms of great power competition in East and North Asia, this is now President Xi and the PRC itself asserting its dominance as it relates to the western parts of the Pacific Ocean. And China is really focused on Taiwan as bringing, as a catalyst, the reordering of global power in that part of the world with them as its head. We saw the Justice Mission 25 exercise of about a month ago, which saw 28 ships, 130 aircraft effectively blockade Taiwan in international waters on its eastern approaches. We've seen a reordering of command and control in the PLA, which cements Xi as the Commander-in-Chief, both in name and in practice. And in that unified command structure, it obviously reduces the time from him making a decision to action, which could be an indicator and warning around preparations for military action in that part of the world.
Mm-hmm. I'm just about out of time, Ian, but I don't want to leave you without getting a quick comment, if I can, please. And those comments from President Trump today, he talked about his beautiful armada, ships on their way to Iran, and obviously what we've seen there in the last month or so. Where is this headed?
Well, the US have three reasons, I think, to build pressure and potentially provide a military response as it relates to Iran's refusal to abandon its nuclear program, its persecution and the atrocities committed in the past 3 weeks, and also its continued antagonism towards Israel, which is obviously a US ally in the region. So the proposition, I think, is sound from a national interest perspective. The real question is the what for and what next as it relates to what the US do and obviously what the Iranians choose to respond with.
Yeah, it's February. I'll leave it there. Ian Langford, thank you.